we also need to be healthy. And that's what I love about what you do, Eric. Not only are you into knowledge and exposing truth in the global elite, but you're also into exposing health and you're big into martial arts. Can you tell us a little bit about the martial art of Wing Chun and can you explain what this is to the audience?
Sure. Yeah, Wing Chun is Chinese martial art invented by a Shaolin nun, by a woman. And the idea is to use the opponent's energy against them so that a woman can defend herself against bigger, stronger, faster opponents. And to develop the ability to use someone's energy against them, you have to develop a level of sensitivity to pressure and what to do with the pressure to a super high degree. So the second a takedown comes, or the second a punch or a kick or whatever comes at you, we learn to bridge it. They call bridging is when you touch one of your limbs to the opponent's attacking limb, and then from there you direct it off your center line. Your most vulnerable targets, your eyes, nose, chin, solar plexus, groin, everything are right along the center line. So it's important for you, as well as your center of balance is right along your center line. So it's important for any pressure that comes in, whatever it be, whether it's punch, kick, takedown, etc., for you to meet it and then direct it off of your center line so that you won't be pulled off balance or be struck in a vulnerable area. So we use a drill called sticky hands, chi sao, to improve this sensitivity, and it becomes like so what sticky hands is they call it sticky hands because once you make the bridge, once somebody's thrown the first punch or whatever it is, you bridge it by meeting it with your limb, and then you yield to their force. So if they overcommit to their hooking punch or whatever, you meet it, and then you allow it to continue through, and you pull their arm and continue them and force them to completely overcommit to their motion and throw them off balance. And so when you start practicing this, two Wing Chun practitioners quickly learn not to over or under commit to any motion because any overcommitment is quickly exploited and results in a takedown or, I mean, death. We learn to get to the neck, get to the eyes, get to the most vulnerable targets as quick as we can so that, a slight lapse in judgment is enough to overtake the opponent. So sticky hand sensitivity, basically, I call it a two-person martial meditation in which the first person who thinks loses. If you're thinking about what attack you're going to do next, you're going to have holes that the non-thinking opponent is going to be able to attack. So any good martial artist is going to tell you when they're fighting or when they're sparring, are they actively planning and strategizing while they're there? Not the good ones. Nobody is jumping around thinking, okay, now I'm going to hook. Okay, now I'm going to do a front kick. Now I'm going to do that. If that's how you're fighting, then you're going to be split seconds behind the person who relies only on muscle memory and intuition instead of active, conscious strategizing. And by practicing the sticky hands, it shuts off your conscious strategizing mind because every time you do, you get hit. You have to stay in a state of just open awareness, receptive, physically receptive. So like I said, the second the other person tries to punch you, elbow you, tries to pressure in on you whatsoever, you feel it, you allow it, but then you pull it more so in that direction or push it or whatever it is, whatever the case may be, depending on what they're doing. But you exploit it the second it happens. So you're like, it was created by a female, so you're like the female in a dance where you let the guy lead and you just follow. And as a self-defense tactic, it's perfect because if you're a true martial artist, a true peaceful warrior, you're not going to be attacking anyone anyway. It's going to be used for pure self-defense. And so you learn exactly how to defend against any sort of pressure, be it from a takedown attack, even with weapons, be it a knife or a gun, or just your typical punches and kicks and everything.
Yeah, no, I've noticed that with the training and watching you do that with other people, whether that be students you're training our other experts in Wing Chun. It seems like in any given session when you're practicing this, you're literally doing. It seems like within 5 minutes, 500 or 1,000 different kind of arm touches. So I
Yep,
assume that you do this day in and day out over time. It becomes intuition and second nature, and
exactly.
and that's where you want to get in any martial art, correct?
Totally. And that sticky hand sensitivity where just the slightest movement, you can exploit it. So you're just feeling for the person to overcommit or undercommit to something so that you can move in or pull them back. And eventually you get to a point where you don't even have to have a bridge anymore. You don't have to make contact, and you can already respond based on what they're starting to do. So as everyone's got their fighting stance and their footwork, and you've got those moments when you're in and out of the pocket before you've made contact, eventually a high level Chi Sao or Wing Chun practitioner is able to use that kind of sensitivity at a distance so that when the first attack comes in, you're already manipulating it before you've even made contact. You're already moving your arms in such a way to make your next attack in their soon to be open hole before the hole is even opened, if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. And this, when you talk like that, it reminds me of one of the best martial artists of all time, which would be Bruce Lee. Was he also a Wing Chun practitioner?
Yeah, the first martial art he practiced for 6 years as a child under Yip Man was Wing Chun. People might have seen that movie called Ip Man. That's a great movie, and the fighting in it is very true to the Wing Chun style. Highly recommend anybody watching that. IPMAN. That was Bruce Lee's Wing Chun teacher, actually. And Bruce Lee's martial art that he created, Jeet Kune Do, he even said that Jeet Kune Do was 50% Wing Chun and 50% everything else. And so my personal style is a lot like that as well. I don't want to copy Bruce and say that I'm doing Jeet Kune Do, but I started by doing Taekwondo, and I got a second degree black belt in that, and I used to teach that back in America before I moved to Thailand. And so that Taekwondo, undisputed, is the best martial art to learn if you want to learn how to kick. It's the art of kicking. For instance, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is pretty much the undisputed martial art of how to learn to grapple on the ground. Wing Chun is the undisputed master of the trapping range, which is, and Bruce talked about there being four ranges. There's kicking range, which means you can kick the other person, but you can't punch them, trap them, or grapple them yet because you're too far away for anything to reach each other except for your feet. The next range would be punching range, where you can still kick, but you can also punch now, so you've got more things to worry about. But you're not in trapping range yet, which means you can't throw elbows or knees or grapple yet. The second range is trapping range, which is what Wing Chun stays in on purpose. We like that range where it's bent arm range, where you can throw elbows, knees, clinch, takedown, punch, kick. You can do everything from that range. It's the most dangerous place to be. That's why, like in Western boxing, the second you get to that range, the referee breaks you up. In a real fight, getting to that range is when you and the opponent are at the most vulnerable. And so when you train sticky hands, you become pretty much, you create an impenetrable wall around yourself so that that most vulnerable area becomes not so vulnerable to you, and you're going to dominate as long as you can keep the fight in that range. And so that's what Wing Chun people try to do, just like a wrestler or BJJ guy tries to go to the first range, range one. They want to keep it there, and as long as they can keep it in that range, they have the advantage. And back when I did Taekwondo, I'm always trying to keep people at kicking range only, because that's all we ever practice. And as long as it's at kicking range, I had the advantage. But now, since I've trained all of the above, it's my fighting style is more like Jeet Kune Do or MMA or whatever, in that if I'm at kicking range, I'm using Taekwondo techniques. If I'm at punching or trapping range, I'm using Wing Chun. And if I'm at grappling range, I'm using Jiu-Jitsu. And I'm going to flow in and out of them based on the opponent's attack, not based on what I want to do. A fight, there's infinite possibility of what might happen in a fight. And you have to be prepared to deal with whatever's going to happen. You never know if he's going to pick up a bottle, if he's going to do a running jump kick, or takedown. You never know what's going to happen. And if you're planning and always strategizing, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to take down, and then I'm going to do this, you're going to fall out of the moment, out of the infinite possibility of the moment, and you're going to fall into trying to make it the way you want it to be. And that might happen if you are a better fighter or you're stronger or faster. You could make that happen. But this Wing Chun was invented by a woman, and I think the philosophy of this, if you're going to learn a martial art, it should work against bigger, stronger, faster people. And if you're already bigger, stronger, faster than the person you're fighting, you don't need a martial art to overcome them. You're going to win anyway. So if you are going to learn a martial art, it should be in this receptive style like Wing Chun or Jiu-Jitsu or there's several other martial arts that are in this kind of receptive mode where you're not just completely imposing your will and your game plan at all times, but rather you're accepting what is in the moment and making it work for you. Instead of making your own moment, you make whatever is in the moment work for you. If that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense, Eric. And I agree with you that self-defense, martial arts is really what most of us are looking for out there. I'm a practitioner of Hapkido, which is a Korean form of self-defense. So I'm real familiar with what you're talking about here. It deals with a lot of kicks and punches, but a lot of joint locks, and it kind of goes over the whole gamut. And then I've noticed, we also teach Taekwondo in my dojang, and when I'm fighting someone that's in Taekwondo, and I have a little of a boxing background before I got into Hapkido, so I'm more of a boxer. But I throw a little bit of it, all of it in, and that's what our master teaches us. He's 5th degree black belt in Hapkido, 5th degree black belt in Judo, so he has various arts. And he's a big believer in everything that you're saying, that you have to learn the different styles, even though you might get a black belt, whether that be in Taekwondo or Hapkido or Wing Chun. You got to learn some of those other styles to be the more effective fighter and to essentially defend yourself better in a street fight if anything was to happen on the street. So I definitely agree with you. And to people out there listening, check out Eric. You have a website for this completely dedicated. Can you give that out to the audience, Eric?
Yeah, it's BangkokWingChun.com. WingChun, Wing Chun.
Yeah, and what I love about that website, to the audience out there, is there's a ton of videos that Eric does for free and he puts out there where he's in, Thailand with his students, whether that be on the grass somewhere or in the studio, and he's showing you guys right there on these videos how it's done. So I definitely recommend that people that are looking into martial arts, that they look into some type of self-defense such as Wing Chun. The martial arts, it definitely, I feel it helps you round out yourself and be more balanced. So, here we are, yourself, Eric, there in Thailand. You're a big truth seeker, seeking knowledge and writing books. It helps balance us out with our health and our bodies, because as we're doing this martial arts and learning them and putting our bodies into these weird positions, we also want to take care of our health, and the food we put into our bodies, you notice that, makes a big difference. Whether you're learning or seeking knowledge, the energy you have to do that, or whether you're doing martial arts, that plays a big part of that. Again, commend you on what you're doing out there, Eric. You're also leaving this world a more beautiful place by sharing your knowledge with everybody out there, regardless of, not making any money and being attacked by Freemasons here in the United States. You're not leaving us. You're still a brother who has left our country, who's just living there in Thailand. But to you, we're all a family, and I appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us here on Gnostic Warrior and also with the world. And please keep up the great work, brother, and I hope to talk to you again in the near future.
Excellent. Yeah, I had a great time. It was good talking to you. I really dig your energy. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk, and I hope we will be able to talk again sometime in the future. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Take care, bro.
All right, dude.